Welcome to Over the Back Fence. I'm Di Edwards.
I'm Nicola Dale, and we're buddies of nearly 4 decades. And yes, we actually do happen to share a back fence.
We do. We love parties, people, inspirational stories, and honestly, making the most out of life.
So join us as we open our hearts, share our stories, and hear from some of the most inspirational people in the world, and have a laugh along the way.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Di, I think today's show we might have to come with a bit of a warning for our listeners.
As in?
Because you know what? You're not the only Di in the room.
Oh.
There's another powerhouse.
Are
in the
you
room.
Diana?
I'm
Diane?
Diane.
You're Diane?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
With
Diane
one
with
N.
an A.
Diana.
Oh, you're Diana.
One N, so
you're much more royal than I am.
Yeah. So there's two Di's in the room and there's two Aries in the room. So I tell you what, we've got a high energy room today, and I'm super pump. And Di and I, we are just actually feeling on top of the world because we love wild women, don't we?
We do love women.
I think there's a few of us in the room. I'm really excited to introduce the wildest woman of them all, the record-breaking, the original and the absolute ultimate wild woman on top herself, Di Westaway, OAM, in the Over the Back Fence house. So you've jumped the, I don't know whether you've jumped the fence, but welcome. But I have to sort of get my breath, I think, but I'm allowed to brag a little bit about Di because you are just amazing. It's just what you've done. You were the Australian gymnast champion in 1976, the Australian aerobics champion in 1981. This next one is my absolute favourite, kick-ass. You hold the world record for the highest handstand. How's that? In the world at Mount Ama Dablam
Yes.
in Nepal in 2104.
As you do up on a mountain.
You've got the Medal of the Order of Australia, OAM, for services to women in sport in 2020. So congratulations. And just recently, and I kind of love this about you too, Di, that the school you nearly got expelled from, which I have to hear about that later. You were inducted recently into the Sporting Hall of Fame. You've worked as a journalist, producing in radio. You're a proud mum of 3. You founded Wild Women on Top, getting women out of their PJs and back into nature. You founded Coastrek, changing lives and raising multi-million dollars for charities. Fred Hollow's Foundation, Beyond Blue, and now the Heart Foundation. You're a global leader. You're an author of 2 books. You inspire, you connect, you empower, you motivate women to lead adventurous lives they love.
Go, Di.
So I am honoured to say we have our hero in the house, Di Westaway.
Oh, thank you. Can we go climb that back fence now?
Seriously. Okay, Di. How cool to have those letters after your name.
Well, my kids think that
OAM.
OAM stands for Outstandingly Awesome Mum.
Yay!
I love that.
That's my greatest achievement, actually. I think I did a pretty good job.
I was reading so much about you, it's everywhere, but there was somewhere where it was written, you were tired, wrung out, working mother of 3, I love this bit, who was fighting 40, as you do.
Young.
So what does daddy do choose to do for a sense of adventure to escape a miserable life? You hoped climbing an extreme mountain in Argentina would get you fit and happy again, though it actually transformed your whole life. Tell us about that.
Well, yes, you have done your research. Thank you, Di. It was one of those unexpected things. I got an invitation to go and climb this mountain from just out of the blue. You know, a friend's personal trainer said, "Why don't you do this?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, my life's pretty shit right now, and I really don't want to turn 40. I
love it.
So why not? Why not say yes?" And impulsively, I said
what a
yes.
great friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was working on radio at the time, and I remember saying to my co-producer, I said, "I'm going to go and do this mountain thing," and she goes, "What is it?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And it was in the early days of Google, where very very early days of the internet, and we could Google it, and I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh, look at this!" And there was people with these spiky shoes on, and up up really high. And I was like,
Seriously, never
to
done
wear
it.
these spiky shoes. And she was like, oh, that sounds really scary. And I said, yeah, we won't look. So anyway, we stopped looking.
Wow.
But we did start shopping. Of course, when you start a big goal, you always start with shopping. And from shopping, I learnt what I was letting myself in for, which was going to need this really extreme clothing, and I was going to need this amazing
oxygen
sleeping bag. I wasn't going to need oxygen, but I wasn't. So anyway, I talked my best friend into joining me because, of course, that's what you're going to do. If you're going to go do something mad, you need your best buddy.
Love that.
And she was in a similar...
Absolutely, drag them along.
She was in a similar space, not quite as bad as me, but she was, a year younger, so she wasn't yet at that, my life's over. But anyway, she came along with me and we had this extraordinary adventure, not just the training for it, because we would get up at 3 a.m, like in the complete dark. She did it for me because she didn't have to get up at that time, but I was working on breakfast radio, so I did. And we'd go running along Manly Beach, and then on the weekends we'd get our huge backpacks out and we'd kind of go out hiking, and again often at night time we'd put the kids to bed and we'd go hike. Anyway, we had this amazing journey of training for the tours, and then we went over to this mountain, and when we got there and we had our first meeting with the guides, we were like, this is serious. They started telling us these stories, and on the south face, some people died, and this guy was talking to his wife off the cliff, and he had to say goodbye to her, and we're like,
this is going to be fun.
The cruise is looking good.
Anyway, so we headed off on this adventure, and it really was so far outside of our comfort zone.
So we're talking Argentina. So, what's going through your mind? Like, you're on the plane heading to this massive mountain. Were you going, what am I doing here?
The husband or ex-husband, the kids, bye.
Yeah,
Mummy's
gone shopping.
Yeah. See
A little trip.
Well, no, we sort of knew, and we were like, the other mothers at the tuck shop were really laid it on. They were like, you shouldn't,
like, kidding me.
Like, what they talk about, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
They were like, this is not okay. This is irresponsible parenting. Mothers don't do this kind of thing.
Wow.
So we did have to overcome a lot of judgment from people around us. And that you can't not...
Yeah.
You can't not question your sanity. But anyway, we both just kept leaning in and going, this is a really good thing to do. Well, whatever happens, we're going to be all right.
I'll catch you, my friend.
Yes, we won't make any silly decisions. And as it turned out, we didn't make any silly decisions. We also didn't get to the top of the mountain.
But that doesn't matter.
No, but that's amazing.
Doesn't matter.
I love how you say that too, because you don't
climbed
always
how
have to
high?
achieve something, and it still was a win for you.
Yeah.
Well said,
Well, it was
Nicola.
well beyond
Intention.
it was well beyond our reach. And what ended up happening was it was a male-led group. We were the only females in a team of 6. The whole team fell apart. We had, one guy going that way, one guy going that way, one guy getting guided to the summit. We got left in the middle, and at the second highest point where you then make a decision, are you going to do that final summit? By that time, the head guide came to us and said, look, we haven't got enough resources. We've got one guy that got to the summit yesterday and we're rescuing him. And we've got the other 2 guys and they're sick. So if you 2 ladies want to continue up, you're doing it unguided. And we were like,
So they could have done. That's interesting.
So anyway, it was a very out there, very extreme
like you're on your own,
experience, and we were like, okay, let's just go and go up a little way.
Can I ask what altitude you're at this stage?
We were at 6,500 metres.
Okay.
So and the peak was 7,000. So you are in thin air. You really,
absolutely.
you're not yourself. Like,
no.
And what I learned was, don't ever judge. You hear the stories of Everest and the big mountains. Don't ever judge anyone, because until you are deprived of oxygen in that environment, you can't know what you might do, but you're not thinking normally. And as we went up, the 2 of us thinking how brave we were, and we were. It's the highest mountain in the Andes, the highest mountain in the Southern Hemisphere, in fact. And I can remember looking into my best friend Annie's eyes and going, Annie, we're on our own right now, like we're together. I said, but I feel like if anything was to happen to you, I wouldn't be able to help you. And I said, I've never felt like this before. So I said, I think we should go back.
Well, isn't that smart to do that?
But it's
too?
a beautiful
you
thought.
knew then
I just knew.
So what was the outcome of that trip?
The outcome was we came back feeling like we were failures because we hadn't summited. And of course everyone was like, how'd you go? Because we'd been kind of like little sort of superstars as we got ready to go. So we did feel like we were a little bit embarrassed. But through that, we started, I guess, to make sense of it and realise what we had done was quite extraordinary.
Yay, I love it.
But not only that, we both felt like we wanted more of it. Like we were like, we've discovered this world where people our age are doing, like, there's life after 40. There's life after being married with children. It's not all over. And not only that, the life can be exciting and exhilarating, and you can do amazing things with your life. So that was the key lesson. And we both went on, I went on, as you said, to create Wild Women on Top, and then Coastrek, and had this incredible journey with that. And she went on to continue on her journey. She wanted to climb Everest and did a bunch of other things. So it really was transformational for both of us, but not in the way that we expected.
Well, that really is sensational how you did that. And so how did it start? So from that, then how did Wild Women on Top start? Was that sort of like from that experience?
So when I first started the business, I didn't call it Wild Women on Top to start with. Right. I called it Fit for Adventure. But cutting back to after that trip, life was never going to be the same. No. I realised that what I had experienced, that I wanted to share it with other women, because what I was passionate about was not just the fact that there was life after 40, an amazing life after 40, but that if you have this really compelling adventure goal ahead, you will prioritise your own health and fitness.
Love it.
Up the food chain. So you won't put yourself last. You'll go, I've got this really big, scary thing that I've signed up for with my friend. Yep. And I have to make sure that every day I do a little bit of something towards that goal. Because if I don't, A, I'm going to let the team down. B, I could, I could come unstuck. So having that big, compelling goal where you're out in nature and you're pushing yourself is the push that I needed, and I thought other women would need, to go, I need to look after my health, because otherwise you're busy looking after everybody else. And many women don't make time
like
for their own health. It's like an epiphany
for you, really, wasn't it?
It was.
And Mother Nature, gave you that gift.
Yes.
And I love it how you then also want to share it with everyone else.
Oh, I was like absolutely passionate. I just thought it was like, the Japanese call it ikigai.
Yes. I read
about
what
is ikigai?
I was like, oh my goodness.
Like, even the name's so kooky.
I love it.
Yeah. I haven't had this sense of drive, and to the point that not only did I take the confidence that I got from that big adventure through the breakup of my marriage, but I took that to going, this is a really good thing to do, even though I've got no money and I've got no work, and I'm starting this little baby hobby and turning this little hobby into a business. When my dear friend from my past said, come and work for me, Di, you're a single mum now, you can't support your 3 children on your own. I said to him, no, Greg, I said, I've got something, like I've got this thing. Passion. And I just have to do it. Just burning drive. So I ended up, borrowing money from the bank and supporting my children on that, and living as a single mum while I built this business. So it's a really interesting thing, the ikigai. If you're lucky enough to find it, even the quest to find it is valuable. But
for our listeners, can you expand a little further?
Yes, so it's a Japanese concept. It's across cultures, but the Japanese seems to really capture it well. It's a sense of purpose and meaning, sort of beyond yourself, where you just know that you have to do something, that you're driven to do something, and it gives you this sense of purpose and drive.
And what would you say that is? Like there's something inside, like intuition? Is it?
For me, it's when I was a kid, I was a gymnast, and as you said, I became a national champion. And at that time, I fell into my ikigai. My ikigai became, I just wanted to be the best at gymnastics. I wanted to be the best in the world, and that drove my dream.
So it was your thought process.
So it just,
I've got to be. I want to
be. Every day you get out of bed and you're like, I've got to do more of that, and I've got to do more of that, and I've got to do it. And I lost it when I stopped gymnastics through injury. I lost it, and for 20 years, in that period leading up to my 40s, I have an unhappy life generally, but there was a little something missing, and I realise now that I didn't have an ikigai. I didn't have this thing that I just had to do. And once I discovered this adventure and this, what I felt was this need for women, because it was my need.
You've never looked back, have you?
I was that unique. There's got to be other women who just want to build their strength and confidence and get their life back. And hiking and doing hiking adventures with women was a path to that. It's not the only path, but it was a path I'd discovered, and I was driven to share that with women.
To share how beautiful. What a gift.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Such a gift. And you know what I love? There's so many things that I love about it. But with Wild Women on Top, it's people of any size, any age, any people who can't even sort of think they can't get out of bed or haven't walked down the road. Yep. you just like one that first step,
Yes.
and it's that community.
It is.
Support.
Support. So
It-
tell us
Like
what
you
it
did with
is.
your girlfriend.
You're
It's
the
that
founder.
nurturing community when you get a group of women together. And I'm not down on men at all. I absolutely love men, but women function differently in a community, and that sense of nurturing, and together we lift and we uplift each other. That hasn't been my experience in mixed groups or in, obviously I couldn't be in a normal group, but I think it's a unique thing in women. It is because we are the nurturers and carers by nature, and we take that nurturing and caring, and when you put women together in nature, they just work together so
Well,
beautifully.
funnily enough, just on that
Specials.
note, Nicola and I, part of your network should I say, Coastrek, which is walks.
We love
Nicola
it.
and I have done many.
Yes.
So inspiring. Just a quick example on what you were chatting about. We did, I think it was Palm Beach to Manly, am I right?
Yeah.
Coastrek. And I got to Harbord. For those that are listening around the world, I don't know, what was it, 30K or something?
We only had about 5K.
So we had
to go.
5K left to go. And I said to Nicola, I've got goosebumps. And I said, I can't go on.
Yeah. So I said, no, she thought it was like the end.
I'm the slow twitch, she's the fast twitch.
Yes.
And I went, no, that's it for me. It's been great. I've loved it.
Yeah.
But there's a water station here and a little sambo, and I'll just sit here and have and she turned around to me and said, oh, her eyes are like dinner plates. There is no way that you are not finishing this race. And I'm like, what? Like, I can't, I'm done. I'm whatever. And she went, get up. Come on. You're coming.
I just said, look, one little step. Let's just go this little bit further.
I knew she was not going to leave no matter what.
Yes.
And she said, well, great. So I won't finish the race. It was all this sort of rhetoric.
love
And what did I do?
Berries.
I got up. I've got triple goosebumps now. I got up. And because I'd seen the huge steps at Harbord there to get to Manly. So my brain's going, you don't want to do that. You can't do that. And she made me override that. I just had to share that because that was relative to what you were saying.
Yes.
It is.
That
I have to
support
just finish
network.
this story because it
Yeah.
makes me laugh.
Well done.
After Di going, I'm not
you
going.
well
I'm not
done.
going to. When we had another girlfriend as well, and then she's going, I'm not even going to interfere here. I was going, no, I've got to, like this. Anyhow, so when we get
Had
right
14 sandwiches
right
in
to
my
the
mouth.
finishing line, Di sprinted. We couldn't keep up. So she
It's only because it's all about show, Dad. Everyone's going, look at that woman.
So by
She's
the end,
amazing.
we're going. The one that couldn't do it. Won
I
the
still
race.
had the ham
I
sandwich
love
flapping
it.
on the side of my mouth.
I just want to pick up on that though,
Yes,
and it's
go
in
on.
relation
Yes.
to the difference between men and
Yes.
women.
Yes.
And this is something that I've learned by observing. This is a generalisation, but it is often true. Is that a woman would do what you did,
Yes,
Nick,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
like, no, you're not.
No.
Yeah.
We're not leaving you
Yeah.
here, babe. It's
Yeah.
we're in this together.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Exactly.
finish
Yeah.
together.
Look at
Whereas it's not uncommon for teams with men in their Coastrek team of 4. It's not uncommon for the guys just to
See ya.
they'll just like we see these single men crossing the finishing line, and we're like, where's your team, mate? Oh yeah, they're coming. And we're like, hang on. Didn't you read the
Interesting.
notes?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a team event.
Yes.
Like,
Supporting
you're
each
doing this
other.
together. So there is quite a lot of, differences between men and
so how
women
did it
in
work?
that
Like
space.
just telling listeners who weren't
Yes,
lucky enough to
yes.
be part of Wild Women on Top, but how did
Yes.
you sort of organise it?
The infrastructure and setting something up like Coastrek would be just endless.
Yes. Well, we didn't. When I first came up with the idea, it was really about keeping our wild women training over Christmas when all the coaches went on holidays. Because what were finding is that over that 6 weeks, that's a long time to be without training, and over that 6 weeks, you'd get busy with your family and you'd stop training, and you'd come back when school went back at the beginning of February and be like,
much Christmas pudding.
Oh yeah, okay, girls, I was sort of starting from scratch again. So I thought, what can we do with these girls that keeps them walking even in the absence of a coach, which sort of sabotaged the coaching business a little bit. But anyway, I came up with this idea and I said, look, if we have this really compelling goal, not a Kilimanjaro, not an Everest base camp, but right under our noses,
No
along the
spikes,
beautiful
a
coast of
sneaker.
Sydney, then this compelling goal could keep our wild women training over Christmas. And it would also allow those people who think that wild women sounds too hard and too scary, because a lot of women did. Only what we now know is that only the more brave, like Nicola, would come and join something where you put a head torch on and go walking in the dark for 3 hours at night. So it would reach out to more women. So it was going to do two things. One was it was going to keep our wild women training over Christmas when the coaches went on holidays. And the other thing was it was going to bring more women in because it was an at-home goal. Still a big goal you had to train for, but it was at home along the coast of Sydney. So that was sort of how the idea came about. The first year we did it as a pilot. We accidentally made the route 126 kilometres.
Oh,
so
my
that's another story for the
goodness.
girls that did that year.
They lived to tell the story.
Yeah, they did. But then we partnered with the Fred Hollows Foundation, fully immersed ourselves in it the second year that we did it.
Which, just briefly, for those that don't know about the Fred Hollows Foundation,
That's to restore sight. They restore sight
in
around
third world
the world.
nations.
Yes,
a
look,
remarkable charity.
It is
remarkable man.
extraordinary.
I met him. Beautiful.
Yes,
and
but
you've to this date raised.
We've raised
the
over
Fred Hol-
$32 million for Fred
Hello.
Hollows.
Hello, I've got triple
Gee.
goosebumps
I
again.
know, it was really cool. It was
How proud
It was a
you
great
must feel,
partnership.
really, and just
Yeah.
changing lives.
The other two
Beyond
charities,
Blue
Beyond
and
Blue
now the
and
Beyond
the
Blue and
Heart-
now the Heart Foundation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Spread
Yeah.
the love.
Spread the love.
I love
yes.
it.
Look, we loved Beyond Blue. We had 5 years, a great 5 years with Beyond Blue, and it was a very easy thing to encourage the trekkers to raise money because they knew why they were walking and why they were raising money. Heart Foundation, well, the heart, we really need to look after our heart. So, walking is good for your heart. Hiking, those hills, those stairs that you
Yes.
tried to avoid, them.
Never live it down.
Your heart wants those.
It's funny you're saying that because yesterday I was listening to ABC Radio 702 and it was a fascinating interview about how a few doctors now are offering nature prescriptions instead of drugs.
Yes.
And I read where you said, sorry, you can't get away with anything. You've said over the years, Toto. I went from miserable to marvellous when I realised that having a compelling adventure with friends was enough to chase the blues away and keep me wildly happy.
Yes.
And it made me join the dots here with what a lot of these doctors are now out there doing. There's a lot of research being done at Wollongong University relative to that. But nature to me is the perfect antidote for our society, like in every sense of the word.
Yes.
And Coastrek, this is, as you said, preparation,
Yes.
getting out there amongst nature walking,
Yes.
and then leading to something that can bring such joy, like
Yes.
getting up those
It's a
stairs.
win-win-win for everybody.
It's a
isn't it?
win-win-win
Yeah.
for everybody.
Everybody.
We've got them
Yeah.
across coast to coast now, which is very exciting. And they're all stunningly beautiful nature-based routes. And that's a key point of difference for our event compared to, there's so many charity hikes and they're all wonderful.
Yes.
And I welcome all of them.
Yes.
But if you're trying to choose, you have to do Coastrek because it's green and blue and it's in nature. It's soft surfaces. So it's quite a different thing to just, going for a walk.
And it's funny because I was flicking through back, and it's such a good book that you wrote, The Natural Exhilaration.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. And tell us about magic moments.
Magic moments is something that evolved out of, going on adventures with women. And you don't have to, go again to Everest Base Camp to find magic moments. Magic moments are right under your nose. And we started to recognise them when we were on hikes, and we had this moment where you just might be looking at the full moon, the silver trail of the full moon over the water from a cliff top, or you might be sitting with a bunch of women sort of all huddled in the rain having a cup of tea, and I'm just like going, as the leeches wander up near you.
Wow.
It's not just a moment of joy that's shared, usually shared with other people and often but not always in nature, but it's the recognition of it. It's like going, wow, look where we are. Look, it's smelling the roses. It's feeling the wind in your hair.
Yeah, it's such a good
awareness
feeling.
of something. It's gratitude. It's
More
like
and more people
yeah,
get attuned to your senses.
And
Yes.
you teach people
Yes.
both say with magic moments, and then when you'd have gone away on the trips there, and then so in the evening, you'd just like everyone would say, well, what's your magic moment?
Yes.
And it's like you also, it makes you search
Yes.
for the joy. In a day you go,
Yes.
oh, I've got blisters, and oh,
It's
it's so
true.
hard. And then all of a sudden you go,
Yeah.
oh, this was
Yeah.
magical.
It does.
And
It
you
does.
share it with everyone else in the group, and you
Yeah.
never
And you're on a
forget those
high
moments.
often. I've got a confession to make too, Dada.
Ooh.
What?
Are we in church?
Oh, come on. We like confessions. Come on.
I have a confession to make. It's sort of a good story and a sort of an unusual story. Nicola and I and two other girlfriends were doing
this
Mornington
going?
Peninsula Coastrek.
Yes.
One of my favourite I love all the Coastrek, but that one's extra special.
Yes.
And 3 days prior, not Nicola, but 3 of the girls had salmonella.
That's right.
Really bad.
No,
Really
where's this
bad.
going?
Like, am I allowed to say that? Go la 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 with your ears, listeners, everyone here, but both ends. Like for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
No.
But no matter what, we were going to do Coastrek.
Yeah.
So we, our
Hydrolytes
systems,
and-
major hydrolytes and whatever. So am I using that as a preemptive, an excuse? Not quite sure, but this is my confession.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Dum 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 dum. Drum roll.
The glamour side of Jai is about to be.
I don't think I told you because Nicola was ahead of me
We
with
all
another
know
girlfriend.
about it.
And I'm with a girlfriend just behind them. And as we're doing the coast, I was like, I was feeling a little bit, not lightheaded, but just like, we're going to do this for sure. I called us the Salmonella Sisters. That was our name. Anyway, I saw a little sign that said that would take you back to the beach, which I figured, I know where that is. That's near where they give the medals and everything for the thingy. And I went, we can do a shortcut. So I looked at my girlfriend and I said, look, I'm always the naughty one. Do you want to come? And she'd had salmonella too. And she went, yeah. So I just said to Nick, no, we're just going this way. Bye. Like, where's she going? I said, off you go. Like,
Just gone to find the toilet again.
So we've done the detour. And then I'm like, sitting by the beach waiting for them to do, I think, what is it, out to the point? The point,
exactly.
coming back round. And then
Just because that was easy.
she ran through and got the medal. And I'm thinking, but we'd done 3/4 of it. It was only that last bit. But I'd had salmonella, so it's but I was very naughty. So I just thought, if Di's coming
You
down,
wanted
I've
to
got to tell her.
confess.
I've got to share that.
Yeah,
You
I
wanted to
think that's-
confess.
yeah.
Well, look, I think
What's
after
your view on
salmonella,
that?
good on you.
Thank you.
I think
Think
Thank
you
you.
so deserve that medal. In fact, you deserve 2 medals for that.
Good, I can let go of all that guilt.
Yeah, you let go.
exactly.
You
I
let
feel
go of that.
so much
You
better
let go of
now.
that.
Thank
I
you,
think
Di
you
Di.
100% accomplished
Thank
the
you.
challenge.
I
Coming
framed
from
it. I
behind.
treasure it.
It was not a level playing field that
No,
day.
it wasn't.
And good on you for taking the opportunity.
Thanks, see?
Yeah.
The positive.
Yeah, no.
You're
Like,
like
what does the
Nicola.
Dalai Lama say?
Yes.
The Dalai Lama says, know the rules well so you can break them wisely.
Oh,
I think that fits.
that does fit. See, there you
Oh,
go.
I'm loving that.
That was
Just-
very
I love
wise.
that.
Just saying with
That was very wise.
age comes
Love that.
wisdom.
It
And
does.
because you're in your 60s,
Yes.
how is it?
I
is
love it.
Can I ask, how's the love life? Is there a man that
Oh,
you
my goodness.
I love it.
Woo-hoo, you love
I
it.
want to print that.
Well,
I love
do
it.
you know what? Life has
tell us.
never been better. And I thought that once I came out of my 40s, like the challenging bit, and I
Yes.
came out the other way and I went, oh my God, life begins at 40. And then I thought it again at 50. And at 50, I had a beautiful new man in my life. He was a mountain guide and we had so much fun. He was with me when I did the world's highest handstand. And he's
that
incredibly
would've been
delicious in
cool.
every way and absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, I'm not with him anymore. But
did handstands? Did he do a handstand?
He would have loved
no,
it.
he didn't. He was actually very
He just
sick
watched
on that
you.
climb, but he was happy to
loved it.
photograph my handstand. So
That was just. I think that is the
that was
coolest
love.
thing ever.
That was love.
Oh,
That was
how
true love.
beautiful.
That was true love.
So you found love again in your
So-
50s?
Yeah.
Look, I
Yeah.
found love. I was truly, madly, and deeply in love with him. And I had a couple of other little,
girl.
other little fun things. But I'm currently single and very happily single.
I love that.
But where I'm at right now is that I'm going to get strategic about this because I'm looking for my. For those who are out there, I'm looking for my man of my retirement life.
Yes.
I
And
love
I'm not
that.
ready to
phase.
retire
The next
yet.
phase.
But
I
my
love it.
next
Yep.
phase is
Yep.
who do I want to hang out with who loves doing the same stuff, not just
companion.
the adventure stuff, but squeezing the juice out of every bit of life. I'm
Righto.
looking,
Talk my language.
and I'm not in a hurry because I reckon I've taken me 62 years to get this single and this happy and enjoying my life this much. But I know that my next bit is there is somebody in my life. I think it's a man. I'm not 100%, but I think it's a man.
When you said think of a man, but would you consider a woman?
Do you know, I've always thought that it was, that I was a man. But, I love women too. So I'm kind of like, You know what? Who knows?
You know what? Well, you double your odds, don't you?
Yeah, I love that one. That's actually very positive. Tell me something.
Yes.
Would you go on one of the apps?
I'm on the apps.
Okay.
Oh, totally. The apps are great.
What apps are you on?
Well, I'm on Fitness Singles. And what I love about Fitness Singles...
Single, yeah. Well, all our listeners.
Fitness Singles is not very sophisticated at all.
Yeah.
It's cheap and it's a simple website. But what's great about it is that it takes 100% of the single people in your age bracket and it reduces it down to about 10% because only about 10% have similar values to me around health and well-being.
Right.
And I can't be with someone who doesn't value health and well-being and who doesn't want to put effort into keeping healthy so they can enjoy their life. So Fitness Singles attracts people who have some level of interest in fitness.
Next app?
I'm also on Tinder. Tinder just casts the net wide. Like there's millions of them there. And you can just quickly just get rid of most of them. Flick, because you just don't, you look at them and you go, no.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it doesn't do as much matching around other things that you might want to work out value-wise. So you do have to then start more kind of texty conversations and more phone conversations before you might want to meet up with them.
Got it.
So it's really just how much time.
And I love your attitude as well
So
because it's like you manifest and bring it in, and I'm a believer of that too. And I think if you're not in a hurry, but you sort of got a bit of what you like and what you don't want. And are there any tips of getting over, like, saying whether it's a broken marriage or you're madly in love and it falls over? And I think we all have those times and you're feeling it's awful. And how do you get out of that?
It's your girlfriends that get you
So
out.
true. I think it's called going to over the back fence.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we are
Having a
that
chat, leaning
way.
on that fence and chewing the fat.
I think it is. It's that community, isn't it?
It's the girls. It's the girls. And look, if I hadn't had the girls, as much as my mountain climb in Aconcagua really set me up with a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of resilience, and it did, I think, help me manage a very difficult divorce. It's the girls that support you through that, and that wild women community that that I'm part of is it's just amazing.
They're all there for you.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we've lost. Like in our nuclear, we're brought up generally, not always, but generally to kind of find a partner and then have children, and you become this little nuclear family in many ways, isolated, and you might have your mother's group and your girls around that. But I don't feel like, well, for me, I don't feel like I was brought up with this real strong sense that it's all about the women in your life. The women are forever. Husbands will come and go, but the women are forever. The tribe of women is what sustains you. So I think that's a real key. You've got to look after your girls.
I've just got to ask, with everything we've heard, particularly in your intro, I'm still trying to recover what you have achieved.
I could have gone on and on and on.
So
loving
your 60s,
yes,
which I really embrace that statement. What's ahead for Dai?
Well, look, I've still got some ambitions, business-wise. We would like to take our Wild Women on Top Coastrek global.
Oh, wow.
So we're currently in negotiations.
That's exciting.
I know, it's really exciting.
Yay.
It's really exciting.
There.
So we're in negotiations in the UK with a couple of potential charity partners, and we're getting very close to being ready to sign with a charity in the UK, so that Coastrek 2025, if you're heading that way, will be amazing. And we're also...
Any detours on any of those walks?
There's always detours. There's always detours,
Don't tell Jai, she'll take the shortcut. Straight to the bar.
The other thing is that we are in the process of setting up a women's health foundation. So this is something that has been on my list for quite a long time, and it's something that I've learnt from people wiser than me who've been doing this for longer, that if you want to control the strategy of your business and you're working in this space, you need to have your own foundation. And there isn't globally, if there was, I wouldn't be doing this, but there currently isn't anywhere in the world, and not in Australia, a women's and girls' health foundation that really prioritises things that will support women in taking responsibility for their health and keeping themselves healthy and well. So I want to set up a foundation that will do that. So until I've got those two things off the ground, I'm still looking for that man. I haven't got a lot of time for him yet.
No.
But
talk about that man. You brought that back. Can I be cheeky? And then what about sex in your 60s? Because I know a lot of women there, their marriages might check down. I know, but sometimes they go, you get to a certain age, can you do it? Can you enjoy it? But like, what's your take on it?
do you know what? Sex has just got better and better and better. But you know what? But I think the
Go for
reason
it.
it has is because, but if you get the right person in your life, they've had a lot of practice. And, by the time you get to your 50s and 60s, they know shit. Like, they know, they know how to give pleasure and hopefully receive it as well. So, for me, I've had the best sex in my 60s.
That is so
It's just
refreshing and so
compared
good.
to what I had in my
everyone
20s.
Very
listening,
unusual to hear
don't
that.
give up. Well, we've got our signature
We
question,
do.
Noni,
We've got our
Oni,
little
Onis. Do you want to shoot,
special-
Daddy?
If you had the opportunity of meeting your 20-year-old self,
Yes.
what would you like to say to her? Take a moment if you want. It's okay.
Well,
yeah, I know.
so many things.
I know. I get emotional when I actually say
I
that
know,
question,
I
particularly to
know.
someone like you.
I know.
Like,
So
I
many
get
things.
I get a bit emotional. It's weird.
Do I have to just pick one?
No.
Oh.
That's the Aries. No, we want to hear
No.
from
Look,
you.
I think for when I
three.
think back to me in my 20s, I was never having children. Oh, I just didn't see why I would bother. Like, I had things to do. So
Wow.
I think that, and I did end up having them, and I had 3. And I guess what my 20-year-old self should know is don't forget to have children because
Oh, that's amazing.
it's better and worse than anything you could imagine. Like, it's just living
Honest.
life to the full.
Yeah.
What you learn from your children, what they learn from you, that journey
The
that
riches.
you have. It's so lifelong. It's so enriching. It's so incredible. It's so deeply in why I think I'm here as a woman. So, yeah, don't forget to have children because
That's
it's
beautiful.
amazing.
And I guess that's not for everybody because some people
No,
choose
it's
not
not.
to.
It's not.
and
Just
that-
don't
but for
forget.
you,
Just
yeah.
don't write it off. Don't write it off.
If you could meet anybody over the back fence from anywhere around the world, who would it be and why?
Do you know that one's even harder to just give one answer?
It is.
Try.
Because my initial reaction is I would want to be over the back fence from someone who was funny.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I would want someone that would make me laugh.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd think about someone like Amanda Keller or Kate Langbrook or one of those really funny women that you could just have a laugh with. So
Yes.
that would be my first thing. But then I think, well, I look at my back fence. I don't really have a back fence. And on the other side of my back fence where I live now, which is just basically a broken down bit of wire, is a 97-year-old man who lives on his own. He's a retired university professor. And every time I see him picking his socks on the line all in a row, I'm like so inspired. I'm just like, oh my goodness, Peter, you are the most amazing
He's
man.
your hero.
We hardly ever speak, but I'm just like, he's an amazing back neighbour because he doesn't get in the way, he doesn't make any demands. And I'm so inspired by the
I
fact
love
he's still
that.
there, living on his own, in his castle, obviously a very contented, happy, healthy, well man. So he's inspiring.
Oh, 97.
I want one more
I'll tell
out
you
of you.
what.
But if I had
Well,
to
we're
pick
gonna-
one, it's probably
I agree.
my hero, then it would be Julia Gillard.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just think she's such a phenomenal. She is a phenomenon. What she has gone through, the way she's achieved what she's achieved in the world of in the world of men.
I know.
I'm
Hear,
just
hear.
like-
Talk about a trailblazer.
I
You're a
tell you
trailblazer.
what,
She's another
yeah,
trailblazer.
no, she's on another
And-
level. She's
yes.
on another
I'm
level.
a trail detour.
Yeah.
I love Dada from the 97-year-old neighbour that puts his little socks out to Judy Gill. I love
exactly.
That's probably you to a T.
Yeah,
and
but
on
on
that
that-
note,
and on
like
that-
seriously.
But you know what? On that
Yeah.
note, well, it's been talk about magic moments. Well,
It
it's
really
been
is.
a magic moment being here. It really is. You really are
Could
our
be
hero.
Beyonce. We're so
you
like
are such
in awe of
you are
you.
such
Ah,
an inspiration,
she's
and
here.
you have changed lives, and you continue to do that. And so
Thank you.
we honour you, and
For
we're so
me.
thrilled that you came in today. So thank you,
Coastrek,
everybody.
a dream.
And you let us know if we can sort of on our show notes too.
Yes,
We'll put
yes.
links to
We'll tell for everyone who's so
Coastrek
inspired.
and anything
would
there.
be
So we'll
amazing.
put all that for all our listeners.
And for those
there.
that are listening, I hope you enjoyed Di as much as, my God, we did.
Yeah,
Look
thank
forward
you
to
for
seeing you on
listening next
Monday.
Monday. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.
Well, guys, we look forward to joining us at the back fence next Monday.
Yeah, so tell your friends, rate and review. How many stars do we want, Didi?
25, and even though it only says
I think
4.
I think it says 4 or 5 stars. Because really, I'm just learning, but that's really the only way that community
Spread the
grows and
word.
spread the word.
Yeah,
So share
it's
the
true.
potty to friends, and
That's what it's all about.
and thank you for
Share it.
listening.
And look forward to chatting with you on Monday. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye bye.